Good day to all. Welcome to this Unit 4 Human Rights in India. So, the human rights in India is a topic where we are going to discuss about the history of development of concept of the human rights in India and the constitutional frameworks of Indian Constitution. In this video we are going to see about the history of development of the concept of human rights in India. So the history of India has become from the King's era. In the King's era, the object of human rights doesn't develop significantly because the political consciousness of King's era is made from the landlordism. So the development of democracy has not begun in the King's era. So that's why the development of political consciousness about the human rights has not been developed in the King's era. Also, the written law of and most of the Hindu kings follow the principle of Dharmasastras. So the principles of written laws of Dharmasastras give the emphasis to the duties of the citizens and the king. So the Dharmasastras are giving the duties and the duties of the citizens of the king. Citizens and the king, they don't speak about their rights. Most of the kings, so that's why most of the kings follow the rules laid based on their ideology. So even they may be from Hindu kings, or they can be Muslim kings, or they can be any religious kings. They prefer the citizens to do their duties for the welfare of the state. So for the welfare of the king and the welfare of the state and for the welfare of the landlordism, most of the kings follow the rules laid by their ideology and they prefer the citizens to do their duties only. They don't take care about their rights, but some of the kings are exception to this particular trend. The king Ashoka has established a true welfare state for his citizens. He made provisions for the basic rights for his subjects in the authority of law enforcement. He also made some rules about for the soldiers in his army to not to torture or kill the surrendered war prisoners. Also, the king Akbar have followed the policy of universal reconciliation and the tolerance to the subjects, because the Akbar belongs to the Mughal kingdom, Mughal dynasty, and most of the subjects are from the Hindu religion. So he wants to make the kingdom as a politically politically secular in nature. So the King Akbar have followed the policy of universal reconciliation and the tolerance. So tolerance towards his follow of his own religious practices, and also for the people also. So people can follow their own religious activities. So he have full freedom to the people, and he has enforced the basic rights to them. He has also enforced the basic right in case of paying taxes and other basic rights. Kings like Shivaji, Tipu Sultan loved their subjects and they enforced the laws in favor of protection of their subjects' basic rights. So they also laid some basic foundation for their kingdom based upon the rights perspective of their kingdom. So the kings of Bhamini and the Vijayanagara kingdom enforced the laws in favor of human treatment of war prisoners. So these are all the examples that in King's era some of the kings have followed and they legitimate about the rights of their people. In the British era, after the King's era, British have invaded to our country. So the people of India have to fight for their political and the civil rights against the oppressions imposed by the British rulers, because the British rulers first enforced the oppressions on political, economical and social activities of the Indian people, and they laid much draconian laws to oppress the people of India. So the people of India have to fight for their civil and political rights. Upon the constant struggles, the Charter Act of 1813 gave rights to the Indians to establish some of their interest in economical activities which don't violate the interests of the British rule. So 1813, the Charter Act has been enacted. In that, before that act, the people of India have to fully depend on the British rule for their economic activities. As an example, you can say the Abhini struggle in the northern part of the India. So the British rulers laid some rules over the cultivation of Abhini and the indigo blue. So the people of India, the farmers of India have lost their livelihood about the demolition of cultivation of the Abhini or indigo blue. So the 1813 Act has given some interest towards the economic activity of Indian people. The Government Act of 1833 has given some political rights to the Indians. And after that, the proclamation of Queen Victoria, because the company rule of the East Indian Company has been ended up in the 1858 on the proclamation of Queen Victoria on 1st November of 1858. Contains some principles of state policy which were similar to the fundamental rights in the nature. So the Queen Victoria has given some state policy which may be treated as the fundamental rights, because she gave some political activities can be taken, and some civil and economical social activities can be done on the interest of the people of India. So the state policy given by the Queen Victoria can be viewed as the similar of fundamental rights in the nature. The Constitution of India Bill 1895, which was constituted by the Indian National Congress, has paved the way for the Constitution guaranteeing every one of the citizen the basic human rights like freedom of expression, inviolability of one's own house, right to property and equality before law. Because before this 1895, the Indians are excluded from having any property in India also. All the properties are only belongs to the British. So the Indian National Congress have declared a particular resolution to have these kind of rights to the people. So the drafted resolution has been called as Home Rule document. So this document has been released by the Indian National Congress on 1895. So this paved a way to give voice of the people of India to the British Council and the Queen Victoria. So after that, some of the developments has been enacted. So Government of India Act of in 1915 guaranteed the quality of opportunity in public services to Indians. So the public services ICS, that is the Indian civil service, is only enacted to the British people in the British era. So this opportunity, equality of opportunity, has been given to the Indians after 1915, after the enactment of the Government of India Act of 1915. So after this only many of the leaders of the freedom struggle of India has studied ICS. Even Subhash Chandra Bose and many of the leaders have studied ICS from the London University and from the Cambridge University. The series of resolutions made by the Indian National Congress from 1917 to the 1919, because these are the period where the First World War has been done. So the series of resolutions made by the National Congress has been giving the demand for civil liberty and equality of status with the English. Also, the French Revolution has also given the dimension and the understanding of civil liberty and the equality of status for all the people in the world. So that has given motivation for the Indian National Congress to demand for the civil liberty and the equality of status. After that, in 1925, the Indian National Congress finalized the draft of Commonwealth Bill of India, adopting a Declaration of Rights. So after that, the Madras session of the Congress held in the year 1927 demanded the incorporation of Declaration of Fundamental Rights in any future constitutional framework. So in the year of 1925, the Congress have come to a consolidation that the particular fundamental rights declaration have to be made in the name of India. So that has to be carried out when India will become an independent country. So the constitutional framework has been made from the 1925 itself. So from the 1925, somehow the developments are made in the constitutional framework. The committee under the Motilal Nehru was appointed by the National Congress to study the fundamental rights. It is interesting to note that the Constitution of Republic of India, enacted in 1950, incorporated 10 of 19 rights enumerated in the Motilal Nehru Committee Report 1928. So in the 1928 itself, the rights which are enumerated in the Constitution of India, the 19 rights has been enumerated. So in that 19 rights, 10 rights has been enumerated by the Motilal Committee itself by the year of 1928 itself. So after that only some of the rights has been evolved and they are incorporated in the Constitution of India. So for those rights, The Constitution Committee has referred various constitutions of the world republics, and they have got the good ideas from that particular constitutions, and they have enriched their list of rights that has to be given to the people of India. So the rights which are emphasized by the Motilal Nehru Committee are given below: the personal liberty, the freedom of consciousness, and the profession and practice of religion, expression of opinion, and the right to the assemble peaceably without arms, free elementary education, equality for all before the law and rights, right to have the writ of habeas corpus. This writ of habeas corpus has been declared as a right on the 1928 itself. So the protection of from the punishment under the ex post facto laws, non-discrimination against any person on ground of religion, caste or creed, equality of right in the manner of access to and the use of public roads, and the freedom of combination, association, and maintenance of labor and economic factors. So these are all the rights has been declared by the Motilal Nehru Committee. And after that, the Simon Commission, this Motilal Nehru Committee report has been submitted to the Simon Commission. The Simon Commission was appointed by the British government in 1927. That commission has totally rejected the demands voiced by the Nehru Committee. So that's why in India, most of the parts of the India has witnessed struggle of Go Back Simon. So after that, in 1930, the Congress Working Committee have given clarion call for the attainment of Purna Swaraj. After that, the Karachi session of Congress in 1931, that is after the declaration of Purna Swaraj, the Congress have session on Karachi on 1931, adopted a detailed program of fundamental rights. So in this Congress, Karachi Congress, Congress has given a detailed program of fundamental rights from the committee report of the Motilal Nehru. And after that, the Government of India Act 1935 was passed without any bill of rights, much to the disappointment of the Indian leaders. Finally, the Sapro Committee of 1945, after 10 years, that subsequently stressed the need for a written code of fundamental rights, and the Constituent Assembly raised a forceful demand for the inclusion of human rights in the Constitution. So this committee has strongly recommended that written code of fundamental rights have to be incorporated in the Constitution of India, and that has to be given the political right to the people of India. So after that, the human rights in the Constitutional Assembly, because after India get freedom, before India get freedom, Constitutional Assembly has been enacted and has been appointed by the Prime Minister of Nehru and the Prime Minister Committee headed by the British Prime Minister, and also Constitutional Assembly has been enacted as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar as a leader, and some 5 members has been appointed. The Constitutional Assembly first met on December 9, 1946. The demand for declaration of fundamental rights, which has been aroused from the following factors, because these are all the factors which met by the Indian people. So the Constitutional Assembly have to take care of about these factors. The lack of civil liberty in India during the British rule. So the civil liberty is very less followed by the British rule. So that is the one factor. Deplorable social conditions, particularly affecting the untouchables and the women. So the social condition of these two categories in the categorical societies in the India is very deplorable, and the social condition have to be raised by the Constitution of India. So that was the another factor which demands for the Declaration of Fundamental Rights. Existence of different religious, linguistic and ethnic groups, because in India some 3,000 ethnic groups are available, so they are living together. So that particular existence has encouraged that have to be encouraged, and the diversity have to be enacted. So that was exploited by the Britishers. So Britishers have indulged in some of the activities to make two ethnic groups or two religious groups to have fights among them. So that's what that was the exploitation done by the Britishers. That exploitation have to be addressed by the Constitution of India. That address have to be given as the Declaration of Fundamental Right to have the religious activities, and the other activities have to be given as a right to the people of India. So exploitation of tenants by the landlords. So because the tenancy is being enacted by the Lord Dalhousie, so from his period onwards, the tenancy is enacted in the subcontinent. So that tenancy have to be has been taken by the landlords as the exploitation towards the tenants. So they exploited a lot the tenants. So that factor have to be taken into account. Also, the Constitution Assembly has taken some of the good efforts given by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and they have given the fundamental rights that has been given in the Universal Declaration into the Indian Constitution. Equality before law has been given as a fundamental right in the Universal Declaration under Article 7, and which has been enacted in the Indian Constitution on Article 14. Prohibition of discrimination also in the Universal Declaration is Article 7, and it has been enacted in the Indian Constitution by Article 15 of 1. Equality of opportunity on Universal Declaration, it is Article 21 of 2, and in the Indian Constitution it is Article 16 of 1. Freedom of speech and expression, freedom of peaceful assembly, right to form associations or unions, freedom of movement within the border, protection in respect of conviction for offences, protection of life and personal liberty, protection of slavery and forced labor, freedom of conscience and religion, remedy for enforcement of law or enforcement of rights, right against the arbitrary arrest and detention, right to social security. So these rights are enacted in the Universal Declaration in the following articles. So these articles are being has been taken and has been enacted in the Indian Constitution to the democratic rights of the people of India. Also, the social, economical, cultural rights in the Universal Declaration has also been taken and that also been enacted in the Indian Constitution also. So the right to work to just and the favorable condition of work has been enacted in the Universal Declaration as a right in the Article 23 of 1, and it has been enacted in the Indian Constitution under the Article of 41, and the right to equal pay for equal work, right to education, right to just and favorable remuneration, right to rest and leisure, right of everyone to a standard of living adequate for him and his family, and right to proper social order. So these are all the rights given by the Universal Declaration under these articles, that is Article 23, Article 26, Article 24, Article 25 and Article 28, which has been enacted in the Indian Constitution under the Articles 41, 39, 21, 41, 45, 51, 43 and 39, 47 and 38. So these are all the fundamental rights given by the Indian Constitution. So in the next video we will be seeing the fundamental rights given by the Indian Constitution and the guarantees given by the Indian Constitution. Thank you.